Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Holmes Studios. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by Brian Fonseca. He's Brian Fonseca NY on Twitter and the Action Network app, at Brian Fonseca on his YouTube channel, where he covers all sorts of sports, WNBA, NBA, combat sports. Also joined by senior NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson at Wheaton Brando, WHEATONBRANDO. As we recap Game 5 of the NBA Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. Thunder get the win, 120-109. No backdoor cover for Indiana. I live bet Pacers money line and Thunder minus 19.5 in the first quarter, because surely it would go one of two directions. Sure enough, no, just your standard little cover on the home team. But I knew what I was getting into. I also didn't care because the only real reason I was on Pacers money line was because I needed to hedge it for Pacers to come from behind at 20-1, which I gave out on the show. Brandon Anderson has a similar position. We'll talk about hedging opportunities. We'll talk about NBA Finals MVP. We'll talk about all sorts of stuff here as we get started. Brian Fonseca, let's start with you. My big takeaway is just like everything I've been saying about Jalen Williams being a future megastar, about how this guy is. He's not going to be Harden, but he's going to be something of the top tier level at some point in his career. This is what that looks like. Like, I'm telling you, Jalen Williams is the truth. He is a bad man. Put himself into the MVP conversation tonight. Not firmly, still very much Shea. In one market, it's minus 600 on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Hedgeable at the number I got. We'll talk about that. But that was my big takeaway. It's just Jalen Williams is awesome, but Pacers turn the ball over. This is like what Brandon and I came into the series expecting and talking about. Like, this is what it's going to look like. It only took until Game 5 for it to show up. What was your reaction, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the game and I'm like, I'm trying to use like my basketball brain and being like, okay, this screen is happening here, and breaking down all the plays in real time. But then the betting brain is going like, wait, Jalen Williams Finals MVP. We have a shot. We have a shot now. After we talked about it pre-series where it was like plus 3,500, then it ballooned to plus like 8 million or whatever it was. And now, I mean, I don't know if he'll get it, but listen, he has another game like that. We'll have a conversation. I think it'll ultimately be Shea, but we'll talk about it. Oklahoma City, you're just not going to beat them when they're creating those turnovers and getting downhill relentlessly. The way that they were, it was honestly what I thought we'd see more often in this series. As much as I like Indiana, like I thought this is what we would see on a little more of a regular basis. A big part of this also was Tyrese Haliburton was hurt. We'll talk about that and the ramifications of that and what that could mean in terms of betting going forward, because that's not a small thing. TJ McConnell was also amazing in this game. Like, that's kind of like, this is where I got nervous, guys. Like in the third quarter, where it was like, okay, Oklahoma City's really outplaying them. It feels like in all facets they're better, but it's a 9-point game. It's an 11-point game, 7-point game. It's back to 9, and Indy's is kind of hanging around. And it's like, are they going to do the thing? And then TJ McConnell has the quarter and pulls them within 6. At one point, they got within 2 later on, but ultimately they couldn't just come all the way back. They started, OKC, that is, started forcing all the turnovers, and I thought it was great. Also, when we got to, because we actually got garbage time, I was watching the game with my fiance, and we saw Johnny Furphy minutes, and there was a breakaway on the court in which he got the ball and was driving coast to coast, and she just blurts out, "Who the fuck is that?" Which I found hilarious, as somebody who watches basketball a little more than casually these days because of me. But yeah, this is what I thought we would see more regularly, guys. And I think, but I don't think Indy's dead. I don't think that. We'll talk about Game 6, but I don't think Indiana's dead yet. But I need to know more about Tyrese Haliburton and the extent of his injury.
Yeah, Haliburton suffers a calf injury in the first half. Leaves, goes to the locker room, comes back, plays. It doesn't look right. Comes back second half, has a terrible game. So it's pretty clear he's got whatever is like a minor calf strain. If it was more severe, he wouldn't be able to run. He'll get treatment pretty much around the clock. They've got from now until Thursday. So they got 3 days here to get him ready. He'll get treatment around the clock. You know, maybe he'll look terrible. Maybe he'll look great. I would say that you probably shouldn't. My advice is that you probably just shouldn't take that into account. If you like OKC, bet OKC. If you like Indiana, bet Indiana. I do not think that this injury should affect you because you have no way of knowing what he's going to look like. You do not know. We don't know the severity. We don't know how bad the limp is. We don't know how it's going to respond to treatment. We do not know. And the calf stuff is complicated. It's annoying and it's got a high risk of re-injury. So if you want to play it from that angle, that's fine. But I just don't feel that we know enough at this point to be able to make. I guess right now you can wait and let's see that there'll be reports and they'll talk to him on media day and he'll like dissect him walking into the arena and all this stuff in order to figure out exactly what his situation is. Brandon, very curious to know what your reaction is to Game 5.
I mean, first off, I strongly disagree with the Haliburton take. I think you absolutely need to take that strongly into account. He is the best player on the team. He is going to be some amount of compromised. You can't be any amount of compromised.
Brandon? I've only been covering the NBA for 17 years. What do I know? Go ahead.
Calf injury, like this is an injury that by what we've know watching the NBA for decades and decades as we have, that you sit out for like a couple of weeks and heal. And this is an injury that when we've seen in the playoffs, you don't risk further because if you risk it further, calf injuries are related to Achilles injuries. And we've seen that be more and more for guys lately too. I'm not telling you Haliburton's going to sit out, but I'm telling you, he's not going to be 100%.
You say you should take it into consideration. How are you betting it?
All right. Well, when we get props, Haliburton unders, points, assists, like that's been a good go-to prop anyways. We've been fading Haliburton assists. That was my top play of the series. That will be a good play again. I don't think you want to necessarily bet Haliburton turnovers over. Been playing that some, but there is going to be, I think, a real risk of Haliburton plays but does not finish the game, especially if the game starts to get away and the season is just done at that point. We saw tonight, we saw him sitting out for stretches where he just couldn't get it going. We saw him coming out of halftime, the jogging from the locker room. It's like, okay, this dude can't run like jogging, can't move around in a locker room. It's going to be tough to go against Dort and Kaysen and Caruso and all these guys. If you can't jog in a hallway, you're not going to be playing NBA minutes at high level against those guys. So I think you bet it that way. I think you can bet it live as you're watching, but I think live is maybe too late. I don't know what percentage Haliburton is. I know we're going to respond with like, well, nobody's 100% this time of the year. Haliburton is a lot. We have to assume Haliburton is a lower percent, whatever the percent thing is, than the other guys right now. And we saw just tonight alone, and this was my fear, is as hard as both these teams are playing, I had this fear coming into the game of, okay, can we please finish the series healthy? Like, it's been so good. Can we stay healthy? We saw Chet go out a little bit, roll his ankle last game, hurt the shin last game. We saw near the end of last game, J-Dub go flying with like a minute left and lands on his back. Matt, I won't speak for Brian, but me and you in our 40s, we're laying there still. I've not moved off of the court from where J-Dub landed. He comes out and drops 40 tonight, so apparently he's fine. We saw Miles Turner struggle with some injuries early in this one, playing through. Guys are hurt and playing through. The calf thing is a little different to me, so I think you have to take that into account and assume some lesser version. And I wonder too, we saw this like another Indiana comeback, another big push, the TJ McConnell legacy quarter. Like we saw the whole thing, but we also sort of saw Oklahoma City finally, for the first time all series, look comfortable and do all the OKC things. And the star of the other team was hurt.
You're muted, Brandon. You're muted, Brandon. You were suddenly muted. It shows your microphone is muted. Let's see if I can do it. Nope, your mic is not connected. I didn't do it, I swear. Haliburton's assist line is 7.5. You're still not connected. is 7.5. The under is -132. David Martell actually notes Haliburton assist open 7.5 plus 105. Now it's -130. You're back, Brandon. Continue.
Am I back? Is my audio back?
You're back.
There we go. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I know where I cut off there. I know that I have a tendency to go to the extremes on this. I feel like there's a real chance that what we just saw was Oklahoma City finally actually playing OKC ball, the best they'd played all series, finally taking control, but then a bunch of the usual Indiana shenanigans keeping them closely in. And it was real. It's a 2-point game. They could have stole it, but did it kind of cover the fact that maybe OKC has just sort of gotten this thing? J-Dub's going now. Shea's been able to get a little bit loose again. Combine that with a Haliburton injury of some level, and I wonder if, even though it's in Indiana and where we've seen how good the Pacers have been at home, how bad the Thunder have been on the road, I think there's a possible, like, typical Game 7 script impending here, where the favorite, like the underdog, punches and hangs around for like a half, and then the third quarter run happens, and we know how the Thunder runs can happen. And I just think there's, with the Haliburton injury factored in, I think there is a very real chance of Thursday night becoming a coronation ceremony. And I hope Haliburton is healthy, and I hope I'm wrong about that. But we know how alts are always in play for OKC. It certainly looked it was going to go that way tonight, and it didn't, and it hasn't this series, and maybe it just won't. But I feel like that is the obvious outcome for Thursday that we're maybe kind of trying to avoid.
I bet while Brandon was talking about the under on Haliburton 7.5 assists, -132. Teams at home that are dogs facing elimination in Game 6, 11-31 straight up, 14-28 against the spread. Jesus. Now that's gonna include a lot of first round games. So when we get to round 2, they're actually 7-5 in the conference finals. They're 1-3 ATS and straight up. And in round 4, they're 0-2. There's only been 2 games where this has been the spot in the database where they're home dogs down 3-2.
The Bucks Suns one of those? In 2021?
No, it was the Heat and the Lakers in the bubble. And it was the Cavaliers in 2014-15 when Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love were both hurt. So that was the other spot right there. I mean, Brandon, I think you're right from like the feeling of it, of like, yeah, like they did all the Thunder stuff, and like maybe reality's finally sitting in on for the Pacers. If it wasn't for Game 1, you and I would have scripted home Thunder, lose Game 3, win Game 4, win Game 5.
Yeah. And
so like we're still on script. Like the only deviation was really Game 1, but it's an important one because it does allow for this Game 6 opportunity. And I think like it's pretty natural to expect a reaction from Indiana in this spot. The Haliburton thing, like totally understandable. If you want to be like, yeah, he doesn't look right, he's not going to be 100%. Like that's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. Like
well,
I'm not sitting here
to the script thing too. For me personally, coming into the series at Indiana Game 6 was the one game I felt least confident on the script you just talked about. That was why I ended up not betting OKC in 6 or less. Why I just isolated the OKC in 5, because I was like, man, if it gets to 6, I think it might just go to 7. If it goes to 7, then I don't know what happens necessarily. That in Indy Game 6 was the question mark in my script. So maybe I just should stick to the script. Other than that late push in Game 1, it's really held to the script. And yet I keep betting all the other things, and my script is mostly held, and I'm just losing left and right on games here.
Yeah, you know, this was a weird one in that it felt like there was a real chance for Indiana to cover this game and OKC to win, which is what I thought would happen. And then they just kind of lost the rope, and Jalen Williams was really fantastic. Like J-Dub was legitimately fantastic. That's the best game of either side. I think that's the best game anybody's played in the finals, is that 40 bomb. Speaking of, as I mentioned, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander -600. Nope, it's moving. It's on the move. minus 550. Jalen Williams is plus 700. I talked to Jim Turvey and Joe Delara and was like, if Nemhard's going to guard him like this full court and he's going to look this tired, I want J-Dub. And so I bet J-Dub at 85 to 1. So now I have an 85 to 1 ticket, which I can technically hedge accurately with a minus 600 and still be able to get a 10 times return on investment. That's not bad. That's pretty good. I just have to figure out how to log that in the app using the limitations that we have on the expert bets. Pascal Siakam, 1,300, by the way, if you are interested in that, that's probably your Pacers play. Pacers money line is plus 980. It would take Tyrese Haliburton coming back from injury and walking on water like Jesus Christ for him to, I think, take MVP from Pascal Siakam with how he's played in the series. Like Tyrese Haliburton, the best player on Indiana, is plus 3,300 right now to win finals MVP. Brian, your reaction to that?
I have a J-Dub and a Siakam ticket,
Nice.
and I feel like it's just going to end with Shea, so that kind of pisses me off.
Yeah.
But this is kind of what I was worried about, because from a matchup standpoint, we were targeting collectively Tyrese Haliburton unders, specifically with the assists, but also we understood coming into this with the ability of having Caruso and Cason Wallace and Jalen Williams and Lou Dort, like everyone that OKC has on the perimeter, you knew that Tyrese Haliburton was going to have some games where there's a single-digit outing, a lull offensively, where he's just looking to pass and all these different things, which we've seen multiple times in this series, which is why I liked Siakam. I was like, Siakam might lead this team in scoring this series because he's going to be able to get his. I don't worry if he gets matched up with Chet Holmgren, whether it's a cross matchup or that's intentional, because he can use his physicality. He can score on him. If his shot is going in, which it was today, like there are just a lot of ways I can see, okay, Siakam could actually get the numbers to do this. And with Tyrese Haliburton, I had some concerns. Matt, you look like you just saw something really interesting that I feel like you want to react to. What is it?
Okay, so this game 6 open, Pacers plus 6. It's down to 4.5. Pacers are getting steamed. Jesus. I thought, like David Martell mentioned it in the chat, but I didn't expect it to go 1.5 from open. Big money's coming in on OKC, but we're tracking sharp movement that's moving down Pacers. So the money's coming in on OKC, probably for a variety of reasons on hedges. But Indiana is now down to plus 4.5 in the market. There's a plus 5 as well if you're looking to grab it. And this open Thunder minus 230. We're down to minus 190 on the money line. So I'm going to need to grab that while you guys are talking because of the Pacers come from behind ticket. So I'm going to need that now. Brandon, what are your thoughts on finals MVP?
I'm sure this will be a shocking opinion on finals MVP, but we should probably just give it to the best player who is leading the team in scoring at 33 points a game in the finals. That would be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP, the guy that could be the face of the league. He probably should be the finals MVP.
I don't feel like he's been that good. I really don't.
He's averaging 33 points a game. He was responsible for more points tonight than Jalen Williams.
Go find a BPM and come back. Go find a BPM and come back in here. Come on now.
All right, let me give you Jalen Williams BPM from the first 4 games of the finals, which recall are 4/5 of the finals so far. Minus 1.2, minus 1.2, 0.6, and 0.5. Finals MVP? No, one good game in the finals. You can't just ignore the entire rest of the finals and give it to J-Dub because Haliburton got hurt for a game. This is ridiculous. But also, it's probably what's going to happen because this is how we give out these moron finals MVP awards now. He wouldn't even be the worst Jalen finals MVP in the last year. So that's just what we do now.
It's 28 to 31. J-Dub's got him by 0.3 in field goal percentage. He's got him by a wide margin in 3-point percentage because Shai doesn't.
Yeah, do you know why? Because he was shooting 40% for the finals coming into the game tonight. He has not been good in the finals. He had a great game tonight and has not been great in the finals. He's been valuable. He's been a nice defender.
I mean, he's shooting 48.
It is in game 5 tied because J-Dub hasn't been good enough. We don't get to give him an MVP award for being great in game 5 when they've lost 2 games because he was so bad.
Yeah, well, I think that's an interesting question of should you, because I do think the voters tend to reward who's great and wins. And I don't know if that's fair. Like, you'd probably just consider it across all the possessions, right? Like, you'd rather be more
Yeah, I mean,
comfortable.
you're right. That again, I am giving you the Brandon opinion on the Finals MVP. That is useless because voters don't know what they're doing with this. They definitely vote for late in the series games more. They definitely vote for only the wins mattered. So it is a 4-game sample, and the latter 2 games count much more than the first 2. So it's similar even to the Pacers. And I realize Haliburton's hurt. Haliburton literally hit a finals game-winning iconic shot, but Siakam's going to be the MVP for the Pacers because he's getting some buckets in a couple of games. We have a game-winning shot that like completely changed the series and gave the Pacers any chance of it, or it's over right now. But Haliburton's not the MVP apparently. This is what happens in these series: is it behooves you the better to bet on long shot outcomes like this, because late in the series, those last 2 games, things can flip and you get the flavor of the moment. And that's who these awards have increasingly been going to.
Yeah. Spencer actually is right here. J-Dub had a great game, but Shea still had 31. Like, that's the whole thing. It's just
31
like,
and 10. 31 and 10. He was responsible for more points than J-Dub tonight.
No matter how much I think that J-Dub has actually been the more effective player in the series, like, Shea just gets the points. Like, he just, like, no matter what, he was 9 of 21 tonight, but he still got his way. He got 14 free throws, so he's always going to get over 30. I feel like he's been solved more. I feel like he's been limited more. I feel like he's been attacked on defense. I feel like J-Dub set the tone in game 4. I don't dispute that Shea's the best player in the series, but I just don't think he's played as well. I just think that he's gotten a lot of free throws. Like, a lot of it, like, even in that last game was, well, what I mean by that, Brandon, is more of like the random loose ball ones, right? Like the crazy, wild,
Right.
weird ones. And it's like, oh, Shea's going to the line again. And it just like keeps ticking up.
Okay,
how are you doing?
just let me, like, a serious question.
Yeah.
Just from these last 2 games.
Mhm.
So we saw 2 pivotal games. The first 3 games are out. Just from these 2 games, J-Dub just put up 40 tonight, was unquestionably awesome. 14 of 25, 12 free throws, so good. Just last game, in the final 5 minutes, with the Thunder being thoroughly outplayed, Shea scored 15 points in the final 5 minutes and made all the plays down the stretch to steal a win for the Thunder. Which of those 2 games was more impressive to you?
Oh yeah, game 4 for sure.
Like, that's the one that wins the finals for the Thunder.
I think for me, the reason I would counter that, though, Brandon, is the only reason they were in that game within range to make that happen, as Shea was having a miserable game again, was because of what Jay did in the first 3 quarters, which was attack relentlessly and like kept them within range. And I'm always going to lean towards those kind of guys. But I mean, look, it doesn't matter. Like, Shea's going to win. Like, Shea's going to win. He's going to lead in scoring and assists, and he's going to win.
But
how are you?
I do think like the price dropped. Like, J-Dub is like, he was plus 8,300 earlier. It's plus what, 750, 700 now. Yeah. I do think it's worth talking out briefly. I don't think he's going to win it, but
no.
How would he win it? Like, how would this actually like grow in price?
Shea has to have a miserable game. Shea has to have a miserable game. J-Dub just has to have, if like Shea has a miserable game and J-Dub has like 25, let's say it's a defensive slog, and J-Dub has 25 and 6. That's and Shea has, I forget which game it was, one of the games in the series where he didn't even crack 30. J-Dub can take it then. Like, it would be J-Dub was good in the 3 straight wins. J-Dub was great. That would be the
I would say he's not going to have a statistical case on box score, because just for reference, he scores 40 tonight and got within 2 points of Shea's point total before adding the 31 he scored tonight. He's not going to get anywhere close on box score counting stats. I think the answer is you need a close, tough road game. You need game 4, but with J-Dub instead of Shea. You need a tight game, but J-Dub puts the nail in the coffin. And then you have this huge 40-point game, and forget the point total, doesn't matter. J-Dub made the plays in the 4th quarter to get them to the championship. Now I think he actually steals it. So my question for either of you is, I know you both have your tickets. People in the comments or that are listening maybe don't have that. should you bet plus 750 or whatever the number is right now? Not you two with your 8,500 tickets, don't add on, but should a fresh bettor take a crack at it? We know what I think. Do you think, either of you, that is worth a play?
No, because it's just like, just take the, no, just the odds are that Shea's usage is still always going to be extremely high. Like that's the formula. And like I love Shea. I think Shea's a phenomenal player. I just don't think he's been great in the series. I think he's had moments. That third quarter, fourth quarter bridge tonight was incredible. Like some of the shots that he was hitting was like, that was takeover stuff, and it was really magnificent. I think if you were gonna bet, it's like if you're gonna bet Thunder, like if J-Dub wins, the Thunder have to win. You might just bet the Thunder at minus 110 and cover both bases in this game.
Or you maybe do like a J-Dub 30 plus, Shea 20 or less. Like maybe build a same game parlay of kind of I know I just said less on the stats thing, but if you think it kind of goes that direction, similar to, J-Dub 40 tonight. I don't know what the odds on that would have been. I don't think he needs another 40 necessarily, but you're probably going to need a 30. So maybe you just build a same game and get better than the plus 750 and forget the voters.
Is this too much to say? Could you go the other way and say bet J-Dub finals MVP and then build an SGP around whatever the base stat line that Shea needs in a win, like 25 and 5? Like if Shea gets 25 and 5 in a win, isn't that enough?
I mean, I think it depends on what you're doing there. You're not going to get much of a number on that. Like 25 for Shea, who cares? Right. Money line for Oklahoma City, who cares? Like these are going to be not great numbers. So I think maybe what you're doing there is if you're playing both sides, you are like, okay, I think the Thunder are going to win in 6. I'm going to use an easy Thunder winning script Shea bet to fund my J-Dub long shot bet. Like you're not going to get it equal on both sides, but I can make it where it sets up like if I'm right about the Thunder, it gives me kind of a free roll on the J-Dub upside. I don't mind that idea.
The other issue I have real quick is just I kind of think you need 7 games if J-Dub is going to be realistic. Like I kind of think he needs to outplay Shea twice. Like even if game 6 obviously would be a loss in this scenario, but I almost think not that he needs 40, but he needs a noticeably better game than SGA and then to be better than him in game 7. Like I don't know if he outplays Shea in just a game 6 win. I'm not sure that's going to be enough because Shea already has too much of a body of work. Whereas if it goes 7 and you have 3 straight games of Jalen Williams having like these highlight performances, then the voters will probably be like, he finished the series really strong. Yep. They won in 7, all these different things. He had, let's say, 36, 8, and 4 and played great defense in game 7, whatever it is. Like, I kind of think he needs a little bit more of a body of work because I think he's been fine. But this is the one game that really popped, although the last couple of games statistically he was fine. But like SGA's, like he's been super productive, obviously. There's a reason he's minus 500 or whatever it is, 550 in some places.
Yeah, beyond finals MVP too, just if you just want to play a standard prop, last 3 games for J-Dub, 26 and 6 rebounds, 27 and 7 rebounds, 40 and 6 rebounds. So at least 6 rebounds, all of those, I'm sure that hit the over. At least 26 points, all of those, I'm sure those hit the over. I know Joe Delera was talking about playing just the PR. That looks like if you just are like, okay, J-Dub cracked the code, or maybe the code is we can't give SGA the ball as much, bring it up. J-Dub's just going to have more time on the ball. I think just rather than going crazy with it, just doing a points rebounds over could be just a solid standard play for game 6.
Thunder -5, SGA 25 plus and 6 plus assists when his line 6.5 is plus 165. So that'll fund your plus 700. Like
it will, except then you're going to lose both potentially if they lose game 6. Yeah. I mean, your J-Dub's still alive, but
yeah, you got to take a position on that. I think.
Right.
Like if you, I kind of agree with Brian. I think if this goes 7, it's Shea. I think there's a chance for J-Dub to steal it with 3 straight, being like, okay, game 2 is whatever. It was a bounce back. Who cares? They lost game. Shea was great in game 2, but they lost 3 and 1, and they lost 3 and 1, and they lost 3 in particular because of Shea's struggles. Like Shea's struggles were the biggest reason they lost game 3. And that's like one of the things that J-Dub that's in J-Dub's favor is like when J-Dub struggles, nobody notices. Like
Right.
he's not
That's
improving
true.
enough. So, but ultimately, I think it's still like, do I think that -6, like let's see, -700 is the number on Shea? Probably. Like that sounds right. Like it's still very much probably Shea. How's your this is only updated through 4 games, Brandon. Where are you at on assist leader for
Yeah, I looked at it a couple times. I just looked at it like 5 minutes ago. It's not happening. We're Shea is 11 behind, I believe, right now. So the way it gets there is really Shea keeps playing well like this, and Haliburton's calf is really a thing. And he like starts game 6, doesn't finish. Somehow we get like a Nemhard McConnell legacy to get it to a game 7 miraculously. And then Shea then is back in play. But 11 back, you're not getting there in one game. It has to go 7. And I think you have to have Haliburton miss time. So, I mean, frankly, I don't want that. I don't want to win a bet that way. I would take the money, of course, but yeah, it's not going to happen. Shea going over on 8 potentials in the last game was the nail in the coffin on that one, I fear. That if we really want to play it out, if we're doing the Haliburton has to get injured angle anyway, let's just let Nemhard go crazy. Remember, we got him 150 to 1, and he's only like 13 back, and somebody's got to get assists if it's not Haliburton. So may as well have fun with 150 to 1. Either way, it's got to go 7. The series leader stuff is just like Chet was the kind of obvious rebounds guy, looked not the part for 3-4 games because he wasn't getting them, and he's really turned the corner and just is kind of cruising on rebounds now. 3-pointers, I'm looking here. Dort had 11 coming to the night, Haliburton 10, Nesmith 10. Then Dort hit 3, and Haliburton had none, obviously. Didn't make a shot from the field. And Nesmith had 4. So I think Nesmith and Dort are tied now on threes. I don't even know if series leader will necessarily pop. A lot of times when it's down to just a closeout game, they don't give us that. But we know about Dort not shooting well on the road. So that maybe could be a chance for Nesmith threes if you like the Pacers to extend. But yeah, most of the series leaders, Shea is ahead by like 40 or whatever in points. Series leader stuff has kind of not been as interesting in the finals.
Okay, so by the way, shout out to the person on our pregame show who pointed out no player to make 5+ threes. That was an incredible bet that Jill and Chris Raybon jumped on. That was an absolutely terrific one. Okay. So Brandon, you feel like this is done in 6?
That's my lean right now, but I don't necessarily trust my lean because I feel like I have personally this entire final series, I feel myself overreacting to each game and swinging too far back the other way. And this series keeps swinging back and forth the other way. So my instinct right now is to look at OKC alts and like a second half, the standard game 7 script as a game 6 on the road. I know, but that the Haliburton calf thing flames out a little bit. The Thunder force the turnovers, kind of blow things out, and there's finally just no gas left in the Indy tank. That sort of felt like even in the last like 6-7 minutes tonight where we finally got. That's my instinct of what game 6 could look like. Not enough to bet Thunder -6, but enough to maybe look at a -15, 20. Again, when I'm betting some of these, it's not because I'm so confident OKC's going to kill them. It's because I'm not confident, and I don't have confidence they're going to win definitely, but it might be worth it to sprinkle a longer number. That's kind of where I'm sitting for it at this moment.
Now you're on mute.
Cash one -1,000 cashes. Brian, where are you at for game 6?
I need to go through this game again. Because the same thing, I don't want to overreact to it because it felt like, oh, this is the one that happens before the better team closes the door. But I refuse to do that to Indiana, who time and again they reach up like the Undertaker and choke their opponent. You know what I mean? On the way to just surprising us once again. I feel like they almost did it again today. To me, it starts and ends with Tyrese Haliburton and where he's going to be at. I don't see myself taking a position on the game spread because I already have like my Pacers future, and I figured out ways to bet OKC game to game, whether it be, you know, a first half here, a spread here. Didn't today, even though they backdoor covered. But like, just sort of looking at it, I don't see myself going in on an OKC spread or even an Indy spread for that matter. I think I'm fine with the positions, and I'm probably just going to stick to props for this specific game. But I do want to know what happens with Tyrese Haliburton, because that's going to be informative. That's going to tell me a lot. We saw just a little while ago his points prop popped in at 15.5, which is obviously low for him, and it was plus money to go over. And Siakam, who was at 19.5 for this game, was at 21.5 and plus money to go over there. So I'm curious to see where those numbers are going to settle, because I think people are expecting Tyrese Haliburton to be compromised, and Pascal Siakam potentially is going to be the guy to score again. If you look at points leader for Game 6, for example, Siakam has shorter odds to get that than Tyrese Haliburton does, and that's totally justified given what we've seen in the series and the state that Tyrese Haliburton could be in. So to me, there's going to be props that are worthy of playing, but I don't have a strong indication for how I feel as of today. But we're going to do this again tomorrow. So,
how do we end up with the series, Brandon, where we're like, yeah, I don't know, they can win. I mean, it's I don't know, it's the Pacers, they might win. Sure, like, how do we wind up here where all of us are pretty terrified of betting the series based off of what's happened?
I mean, for me, the Haliburton injury really does throw enough of a wrench into it that it's the uncertainty of, man, we now have seen really all 4 series where the Pacers just keep finding weird ways to hang around in games. So why wouldn't they find a weird way to hang around in a series the same sort of way? Even tonight, I tweeted with like 8-9 minutes left when it got to the 2-point game, whenever that was, something like, it is unfathomable that the Pacers are in this game at all right now, let alone that it's 2 points. And immediately we got a Cason Wallace offensive rebound, set up a 3, and then just a bad, Nemhard was really bad in the fourth quarter. Some really bad mental mistakes. Just threw it like out into the open court, Cason dunk, 7 points, and then just ripped open from there. But despite all the turnovers, all the threes, Wiggins is shooting the threes, and Dort's hitting his threes. Who else? Cason Wallace is hitting threes. 3 threes each from those guys with 32 points off of turnovers. And by the way, 18 offensive rebounds by the Thunder. You give me those 3 numbers, I got Thunder by 35 in this game. Like, this is the blowout script all the way. And it's still 2 points with like 8 minutes left, with Haliburton without hitting a shot the entire game. Just nothing about this team has made sense. I think it's scrambling our brains a little bit, at least for me. I'm going to ask to either of you right now, if you want to bet Thunder in 6, you obviously just bet the money line. So that's not a price listed at books anymore. If you want Thunder in 7, I see that at multiple books at plus 270. So if you think Indy still wins the home game, but Thunder win the series, Thunder in 7 plus 270. Or if you like Pacers to win the series, I'm seeing right now plus 980 to win the series. If you had to put your money on one of those 2 bets, not because which team's going to win the series, we're a betting podcast, which one is the better value? Plus 270 Thunder in 7, plus 980 Pacers to win the title.
I took Pacers in 7 at 710 before. So that's actually a reason for me to actually look at OKC in 7 here at 270, because that's a good enough hedge at that number, especially because it's not like I pulled much on Pacers in 7. It was plus 710.
And I think the hedge conversations are important here, because I think a lot of people have hedge positions at this point, right? I think probably Thunder plus 270, right?
Yeah.
Indiana gets one more at home, heroic effort, home crowd, gets
Shooting
the
variance,
win, pushes it back to 7, and it winds up being exactly the same as the Nuggets series. They get blown out in game 7. The Thunder have a coronation, and that's it. Like, that's a pretty reasonable script, wouldn't you say, Brandon?
I think so. So here's where I am at. before today's game and before my concerns with less the game script, more still just the Haliburton injury, I had, like you said, Matt, I bet 2 exact outcomes earlier today. I wrote it up. You can see it in the app on the article. One of them's lost already. I bet Pacers to win game 6 and one of the 2 games in OKC and win the finals. That was the bet I put together. So they didn't lose. They didn't win tonight. That one's out. They can still win game 6, win game 7. So I still have that ticket. My math from that ticket was if they lost tonight, my math for them to win game 6 and game 7 was 19%. So by that theory, if I am unmoved from tonight's game, I should think the Pacers are 19% still to win the title. That's not nothing. That's not the way I'm talking about them right now. And it's definitely not plus 980. Plus 980 is like 9%. My number from before the night is double what the Pacers price is. Do I need to double down and bet the Pacers despite my trepidation I clearly am feeling right now?
Yeah, I'm 60 cents off the market, right, on their value, which is pretty good. Like, that's really good to be 60 cents off. And if I was coming into the series fresh, you are right that even though I think, like, my thing with the Haliburton injury, I want to be clear, is not that I think he's going to be fine. It's just like, I don't ever...
Right. It's that we don't know if he will be 90% or 85 or 75% and what those things mean.
And I've seen it be like, oh God, that guy should have never played. There's no way he can play. What's happened? Like OG Anunoby last year.
OG Anunoby, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've seen guys where it's like, oh, he's fine.
Aaron Gordon. Yeah.
So I think I just don't think it's something that I can really give a handicap on.
Sure.
But with the information, it does add into the probability factor. So I can't, I think that makes up for the 60 cents. So I'm on market and I don't really find any reason to bet into it. Like, that's the unfortunate part here is like, where's the value? And it's like, I don't know. Probably OKC on the spread in game 6 because teams in that spot tend to win game 6 and cover. Because teams tend to win game 5 and cover in their spot, and they did finally. Like, maybe, and I resisted this point because I thought Indy played so well in game 4. And I didn't want to buy in because the Thunder didn't play like this in the fourth quarter of game 4. That tonight they looked like themselves. Yeah, in the fourth quarter of game 4, they were just like offensive rebounds.
Get over the line somehow.
Yeah, like just figure it out. This was like, this is Thunder basketball. That is what game 5 was.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just as simple as they got out of game 4. They were able to get back to be themselves. The Pacers ran out of gas. Haliburton's hurt. And now we're going to see cover to close. That to me is a pretty reasonable script. Like, I'm leaning pretty heavily towards, especially at 4.5. I think I'm probably going to bet Thunder here. That's a very good price on OKC in this spot.
The other issue is with Tyrese specifically, the injury is a calf one, and his game requires speed, timing, right, precision, running up and down, a lot of mileage, a lot of wear and tear potentially, just a lot of herky-jerky, like just quick reactions, quick twitch muscles working at all times. It's not like a plodding sort of physical style of basketball. It's very, very finesse, like overly finesse. And if he's out there, the other thing is OKC is probably going to try to figure out how to get him in actions on defense. And that's going to be problematic for Indiana as well. So I think that's the other element that I'm worried about, is because of the nature of the injury. Like, it very much blocks what he wants to do if it's severe, if it's actually going to be problematic. It's like the way he plays, like that could be a big, we saw it today, it could be a big hindrance to like what Indiana wants to do. And then you have to look at other sources to be productive. And if that's the case, then I mean, that's going to be tough to do, because obviously Tyrese Haliburton is sort of the one that like gets everybody going, even when he's not scoring a ton. You know what I mean? So I think
for what it's worth, I have compared this OKC run potentially to the 2015 Warriors at times with the Shea and Steph comparison, and I've compared them to maybe the 91 Bulls at times. Under that theory, I just looked it up because we know both of those teams in their first year did struggle a little bit in the finals before putting things away. And I was curious, is there a script from those teams where that team has their coronation moment. They get to the final game and they blow it open. The answer is no. 2015 Warriors got to the final game in Cleveland. They did close out. They won by 8. I'm going to assume that was kind of a pushed all the way. They got the job done. They got the ring, but they didn't have a coronation blowout. Bulls in game 5, they lost game 1. This is the first Jordan championship year. They lost game 1. Game 5 is in LA because it's 2-3-2 back then. They won by 7. So on the road, close out in your first time, maybe not the time I necessarily from history should be betting for the big alts. I just pulled up the OKC schedule to say, okay, have they had any big playoff wins by like 20, 25? No, of course not. They hadn't even had a cover until the last game. So of course they don't have any 20 and 25 point wins. So yeah, I don't know that you need to go too crazy on the alts. To answer my own question about the Pacers futures double down, I was pretty aggressive on the Pacers with the numbers I had coming into today. If I knocked down 10% off of my win chances for each game, which is a big number, I know, but it was as far off as it was from the market, then I'm more like 11% versus the 9% here, which is not an advantage that I would be betting. If I put the numbers where I have Haliburton compromised the way I see he might be, I have Pacers down to 7%. So for me personally right now, just for those watching or listening, I will not be doubling down yet, but if I do, it will be in the app. You can see it there.
Okay. All right. I think we're wrapped here. I'm going to go bug Brandon about how I bet this Pacers from behind appropriately and figure out what else to do. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll be back tomorrow for best bets. No best bets on Wednesday. We'll have a live show tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern on Tuesday, giving you best bets for Thursday's game 6 between the Pacers and the Thunder, NBA championship on the line. You can catch Brian Fonseca at Brian Fonseca NY. Check out his YouTube page. You're on YouTube anyway. You're watching this on YouTube. Go look up Brian Fonseca at just youtube.com at Brian Fonseca. Go check him out. Brandon Anderson is in the Action Network app at Wheatham Brando. Go look at his ROI. Just go peruse the green, and you can find that there. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us. See you guys again next time. Till then, let's get bucket.